The Daleks are back. It seems quite odd looking back that the classic monsters were used so infrequently in this era. The Cybermen won't be back for another 3 years, and the next Dalek story won't be for even longer. Clearly they were trying to do their own thing without just relying on the same old monsters, which is laudable, but it does mean the stories can be a bit hit and miss. And even though this is one of the rare returns, it's still not that great, which may explain why they left it so long before trying again. First of all, we should talk about Romana's regeneration scene. They really should have got Mary Tam back for the handover, and check out the previous video on this channel to see how that might have gone. As it is, it's clearly not meant to be taken seriously. She's changing bodies just like you would change clothes, that's the joke. It might have worked better if the alternate Romanas had been allowed to say a few lines, instead of just standing there and staring into the distance. And clearly it's not how regeneration on Doctor Who has worked before or since. I guess you could explain it away by saying that if a Time Lord chooses to regenerate, then they have more control over their final appearance. But whatever, at the end of it, Lalla Ward is firmly ensconced as Romana, and wearing this rather fetching pink and white version of the Doctor's outfit. The rest of episode 1 is very much a throwback to the old Dalek stories, with the Doctor and companion exploring a strange planet, splitting up, getting captured, and the Daleks showing up at the end. It's a bit of a waste of an episode, frankly, but it does establish the partnership between Tom Baker and Lalla Ward, so it works well enough. Once the Daleks do appear, the story goes off the rails for a bit. They're looking particularly shoddy, and their voices are just totally robotic now, with no hint of personality. This is intentional and done for story purposes, but it's not a good direction to take them in. Daleks are at their best when they're bloodthirsty conquerors, not just mindless robots. Davros is also back, unearthed at the end of episode 2. He gets a big build-up, but unfortunately David Gunderson is nowhere near as good in the role as Michael Wisher was. He's not even trying to match the previous actor. He just seems rather ordinary by comparison. And Tom Baker doesn't help either, by refusing to take Davros seriously, pushing him around in his chair and offering him jelly babies, like he was just another bad guy. It would have been far better for the story if the Doctor had treated Davros like one of his oldest and most deadliest foes. Meanwhile, the other faction are the Movellans, who have a very 80s look about them, despite it only being 1979. It's good that they're made up of different races and genders for once, but sadly the fact that they're all robots leads to all the actors giving very flat monotone line deliveries, so none of them really stand out. And even though the story is set on Skaro, there are no mention of any Thals, which is rather puzzling. It would have made more sense for them to be enslaved by the Daleks, rather than just random people they've captured. So the first 3 episodes are basically all set up, but the final episode does deliver, as we finally learn what the whole point of it was, with Davros and the Doctor being used by the Daleks and Movellans to help them win their war. Frankly, this really should have been the start of the story rather than the end. Still, the resolution is satisfying enough, with the Doctor ironically tricking Davros into blowing up all the Daleks, and the Movellans all getting switched off by having their power packs removed. But really, if they're stupid to walk around with their power packs stuck to their belts, then they deserve everything they get. Lalla Ward is far more impressive here than she was as Princess Astra, taking the role of Romana and making it her own. Mary Tam was always a bit aloof and condescending. Even when captured by bad guys, she never seemed all that bothered. But Lalla is visibly disturbed by the Daleks, and even ends up in tears. This is not a bad thing. The companions really should be more empathetic than the Doctor. And she certainly manages to sell the threat of the Daleks far more than Tom Baker does, when he's making jokes about them not being able to climb stairs. But later on she does show the character has a stronger side, when she manages to beat up a Movellan. And her chemistry with Tom Baker is clearly electric. Even when the story's not that good, they're always worth watching, which I suspect I'm going to be saying a lot in the weeks to come. I watched this story on Blu-ray, but for the sake of consistency, I'm going to keep on just reviewing DVD extras in these videos. And I'll do a separate video talking about all the exclusive Blu-ray extras once I've had a chance to watch them all. So the DVD version only has 2 featurettes. Terra Nation is nearly half an hour long, and it takes you through all of Terra Nation's Doctor Who stories, mainly through interviews with Nicholas Briggs, Terrance Dicks and Barry Letts. More interestingly, we do get snippets of an audio interview with Terry at the start, as well as a clip from Wicker's World where Terry meets Alan Wicker and shows him his collection of Daleks. There's also a 10-minute feature with the director, Ken Grieve, talking about this story, giving his memories of working with Douglas Adams and Tom Baker. And he's an engaging storyteller, so it's definitely worth watching. Overall, the first and last episodes are pretty decent, but the middle ones are not so good. So on balance, I'll give it a 5. Next week, City of Death. It's always been one of my favourite Doctor Who stories. Will it be the same this time? Subscribe to find out. Meanwhile, check out the description of this video for a link to the playlist of all my Doctor Who reviews so far. And I'll see you next time.